safety car is about to pull into the pit lane, which it does now, so it's down to Andy Schultz and Andy Marston to control the pace as they watch the red lights on the gantry, which will go out now, and away they go. Then good start by Neil Primrose, who squeezes that little Ginetta between the pit wall and the BMWs there, and he's got, well, alongside one of them. He's not actually going to make up a place though. It's the 69 car that's going to head into the first corner in the lead. That is Andy Schultz then. The orange car, it looked like it was Andy Marston's white BMW M3 in second place as the field streaming through Hawthorne now for the first time. It's a 45-minute race. It's not one of these races that's going to be won on the first corner. It's lost on the first corner though. It looks like everyone has made it through though. 45-minute race, pit stop in the middle, third. Several two-drive drivers, but quite a lot of drivers going to solo as well.
So a great start to the race then by Andy Schultz, who you'd expect here might be able to get away. He was a second quicker than Andy Marston in qualifying this morning. But look at some of the Class B cars here. You've got Luke Handley's Golf, had a Christopher Freeman Civic, bigger engine Civic, 2.4 litre car. Side by side there between Lewis Rose's Civic and David Sheed in the BMW up the inside, the Compact, which was a front runner at Cadwell Park in the all-comers race there. Behind them, you've got a BMW. Is that Darren Ball, who's out this weekend in the BMW 1 Series, formerly raced by Colin Gillespie. Darren Ball's Porsche Cayman came to an end at Silverstone 5 weeks ago. 53 there, that's Johnny Weston Taylor, isn't it, Ian? Returning to the 750 Motor Club after some time away.
Yeah, former Formula 4 racer Johnny Weston Taylor, and front runner in that category in the past. So at the end of the first lap in this Tegiwa Roadsports Series race, fantastic grid of cars, great site they make, great variety of different manufacturers and models as well across all of the different classes, as you were saying, Josh. It's really, really good and encouraging. Seeing a few quite unusual cars out. Just about to go through a shot, you just missed it there, was the Punto Abarth, which is particularly unusual and interesting one. Problems though for one of the Civics, and that's 51 car.
Not the Golf.
Oh, it's the Golf, sorry, yes.
Of Luke Handley there in Motorsport. Well, there it is on your screen. So Luke Handley, who I guess is really doing practice for Club Enduro tomorrow, has come to a halt halfway down the straight. And
we've had a spinner as well out of the chicane, I think. That's one of the BMWs that's getting back up to speed now. Just trying to work out who that is. That
could it be Ben Gundry and Tom Sykes?
Yeah,
Free Series.
Could be, and I think it was Sykes, yeah, it was, that was starting that car.
Handley's moved his car a bit further down the road, but on the grass, importantly.
Yeah, so leaders, as you can see, heading into the complex again. Here's the fight for third, though, and it's the Morja Civic and the Primrose Ginetta. Of course, Neil Primrose, best known as the drummer from Travis, and it's he's challenging there the Civic very closely indeed.
He has been a winner with the 750 Motor Club before, but in a very different car. This Ginetta G20, which at angles doesn't look much like a G20 anymore. It's got a roof on it, it's got no sort of back to the car, it's got a big rear wing as well. You can see it on your screens there now. It's a super lightweight model, which produces about 200 brake horsepower, I understand, the Ford Z-Tech engine that powers it, and Primrose driving it very well. I said he was a Class B car. That's been upgraded now to a Class A car, by the way.
Yeah, 95 Andy Bailey is into the pits, double waved yellows for that Luke Handley car, which was only just off the edge of the circuit, isn't it, on the run to Tower Corner.
I understand that Andy Bailey had a bit of a prang yesterday and again this morning in qualifying, so whether there's some consequences from that, but we are going to get a safety car for that car, presumably that's off of Luke Handley, and there are no marshals that side of the circuit nearby, are they? It's on the opposite side, the marshal post, so we are going to get an early caution to this race, but glad to say, Ian, the start of the race is a bit calmer than what Silverstone was.
Well, that was, yes, a very difficult start to the race, in particular first corner incident, or second corner incident, down there at Beckett's, which claimed a few cars, unfortunately, some of them terminally, it would seem. Yeah, much calmer here.
The safety car will not help the leader here, because Andy Schultz is the quicker driver out of the pairing with Matthew Hampson, and he had pulled out 3 seconds in 2 laps. But of course that will come to nothing.
And of course it's too early to make a pit stop because they can only make a pit stop 15 minutes into the race. We're only 5 minutes in so far.
Thankfully, I think is a word we could use here this weekend with how many cars did we get in the race in the end? 38. I don't think we want 38 cars coming into the pits in one go.
Probably not, no, not if we can help it. As we've seen similar things happen in other endurance categories in the recent past, with it not always ending well. So 5 minutes gone, safety car is out. Luke Handley's car will be recovered. He's parked, as Josh says, on the outside of the circuit. The marshal's posts are on the inside of the circuit. There's just trees really to the side of the circuit from where Luke is at the moment, so it will need a bit of intervention to get that car recovered, and then we'll be able to continue for the remaining, hopefully 35 minutes or so of the race.
So in the classes, it's William Beach in 5th overall that leads Class B in the Volkswagen Golf that he shared with Mark Grice. Just checking, they did start that way round car. What are they? 1, 2, 7.
I think it was Grice that started that car.
Yes, you're right. Mark Grice starting the William Beach Golf. Second in that is Christopher Freeman, and third is Liam Bidgeway, who I understands out in a Elite Cup car this weekend after his higher spec at Xeed blew up yesterday. Andy Bailey went out the pits and come back in, by the way. He's back into the pit lane now. Class C, that's being headed by Sam McKee, who drove his car to the circuit yesterday, that he shares with Darrell Bennett, the BMW 328i. Second is Jonathan Packer, right on his tail at the end of that lap before the safety car. And third in Class C is Rory Baptiste, 3 Series BMW. In Class D, well, it's Douglas Inglis who's got the best of that now in the Mazda MX-5. Esther Quaintmare, though, is still in second, and Chris Fantana's Mazda MX-5 is third.
Okay, so safety car still out here for the moment at Croft in this Tegiwa Roadsports Series race. Second race of the season for these cars, of course. The season got underway at Silverstone, as Josh was saying, and the victory there was taken overall by Christopher Mills. Jamie Sturgis was second, and Nick Vaughan was third on that occasion.
So none of those 3 cars are starting today,
no,
are they? Nick Vaughan
absolutely.
is here. Apparently they had a big repair job in his Audi A3 last night, but it's obviously come to nothing because that car was not really working in qualifying this morning, non-starter, and the other 2 didn't make the trip.
Indeed not. Class wins, as I've said, to Chris Mills, Liam Crilly, Matt Creed and Adam Reed, so we're going to get some different class winners as well. So
none of those here either, are they?
and that's the nature of a series, though, isn't it, rather than a championship, because drivers can just pick and choose races. They don't need to worry about committing to perhaps races that a bit further away from where they're based or whatever. So you do get different drivers taking in the series as the races go by, and then we get a lot of different race winners as well. That's the case in Roadsports, different winners across the season.
And obviously worked because the grid has been massive for both Silverstone and here at Croft. Obviously you do get those drivers that commit to the series, do every race. I think over lunch we heard from Sammy Bowler, who I caught up with yesterday, who's moved over from Mini Challenge. She's committed to a full season of Roadsports. I think had a good race at Silverstone, and a lot of drivers here, like she was saying, enjoying something different, doing 15 or 20 minute races in single mate racing like she had been. And there's a lot of others who have come from other categories now to a big, wide, varied grid, but within your class there's plenty of competition of similar cars over a lap time, but maybe you make that lap time in a very different way.
Don't think we've yet talked about who's got the pit stop penalties, have we, during the course of this? So let's do that now. The Andy Schultz car, that's going to have a 10-second pit stop penalty, as too is the Andy Marston car. That'd be plus 5 seconds for Sam McKee and Darrell Bennett, plus 10 for Andy Bailey, plus 10 for Jamie McHugh and Tom McHugh, and plus 10 for Matthew Footman as well. So those are the drivers that have to serve a slightly longer pit stop.
So what that could do, particularly with this safety car period early on, is bring that Morga and Primrose battle really into contention with those 2 BMWs out front. Now, are we going to get the race back underway at the end of this lap, I wonder, because the clear up...
Safety car lights are out.
OK, so we are going to get racing back underway with still 5 or so minutes before any pit stops can start happening.
And that's probably a good thing, as you say. 3 or 4 laps, therefore, they'll get in before the pit stops are okay. So, safety car pulls in the Renault Megane, and therefore it's going to be Andy Schultz then to lead them over the line, and the race gets back underway for the remainder of the 45 minutes. There are 35 minutes left to go, and it is Schultz then leading the way from Marston. Two BMWs as they head their way through Clairvaux Corner for the first time, but actually the little Civic is staying with the Marston BMW this time.
Behind, I think Colin Gillespie's BMW M4 got himself ahead of Christopher Freeman for 6th overall. There you're seeing car number 6 on screen, which is Phil Driver out in his Porsche Boxster, the ex-British GT racer. But the leader heading down into Tower Corner, the two BMW E46 M3s of different modifications. You can do that here. The regulation's pretty open to let you do what you want with your car as long as it's within the power to weight regs. There's Darren Ball then out in this new car to him this weekend, the BMW 1 Series, formerly raced by Colin Gillespie, who's up there a few places ahead of Darren Ball as he gets used to a new car. You've got the Porsche Driver in there, then the Lotus of Johnny Weston Taylor, which he shares with Sports Specials champion Andy Hiley this weekend. But there is Driver then in the Porsche. So you've got BMW, Porsche, Lotus, they've got Honda in front, really showing the variety that you can get in one of these races.
So there you can see the green flags waving. That's because we're back underway after the safety car period, and that's to warn or let all of the drivers know that the race is back underway. And there's the Porsche. It was trying to make a move on the inside of the Darren Ball BMW there, but couldn't make that one work. And they are still at it as they go round the hairpin again to come through to complete the lap. And a good little scrap developing there between those two at the end of lap 6. And that's the battle for 10th and 11th, I think it is, 11th and 12th actually.
Rapid pace from the leader as their Ball goes ahead of Lewis Rose. Andy Schultz has done a 1:29.71, which is under the qualifying times. Roadsports have only raced here in the damp before, so we're 6 seconds under the lap record, but also underneath the club enduro lap record too. So quick lap time from Andy Schultz out of traffic.
Yeah, we'll see the Club Enduro competitors have a crack at that lap record tomorrow as Driver gets at the inside of Rose now. So Rose losing a couple of positions in quick succession there, but fighting back on the exit of Tower Corner in that Honda Civic. I've seen him out in Civic Cup in the past, Lewis Rose, but for the moment it looks like he's just going to have to play second fiddle to that Porsche and worry about that Lotus behind him now. But not for much longer by the looks of it, because it's alongside into Sunny Corner and it goes through.
Yes, Johnny Weston Taylor getting back into things. I think it's been some time he's been out of racing, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely right. Up front, I can tell you that Andy Schultz is getting away here, but we do think that he probably needs to in the first part of this race. So this is 13, which is David Sheed in 9th place. 10th place then is the BMW of Darren Ball now, and then it's Phil Driver, number 6. In 11th position. That's the way of it, with the Lotus of Johnny Weston Taylor in 12th as they go up and over the line. You can see on screen the different classes that they represent, the different icons, different coloured icons representing the different classes within Roadsports. And those do, I think, now correspond to the different coloured sun strips they have as well. Black and orange flag, the meatball flags we know it, that'll be to warn a driver that there's a mechanical issue with his car.
I think we just need another update on the timing tower, because unfortunately this weekend there's been a bit of a technical issue there, but I think the team downstairs at Alpha Live will do that for us in a moment, and then we can get up to date time for you watching at home. But in the battles on the circuit, there's almost 4 abreast coming down to the Jim Clark Edges, and Johnny Weston Taylor squeezing his Lotus Elise between Phil Driver and Darren Ball. He's going to get both of them here. Absolutely brilliant move then down into the Jim Clark Edges to get himself ahead of Darren Ball and of Phil Driver, and now he's going to have a go at David Sheed into Sunny Corner. He can't quite make that yet, but how Johnny Weston Taylor's going at the start of this race here would suggest he might not take too long to gain another position. Absolutely.
People on the feet saying, where is Nick Vaughan? Well, he was a non-starter, and Nick Goff is in 17th position at the moment.
And now for you watching at home who perhaps haven't got access to live timing, it is updated on the left-hand side of your screen. So big thanks to the guys downstairs for that.
Yes, so what it tells us is that we are 14 minutes and 27 seconds into the race in the case of the race leader, Andy Schultz, who is now 7.72 seconds clear of the rest of the field. So that black flag now being prepared to be shown to the driver that's got the black and orange flag. Now I wonder who that's for. I did notice earlier the Neil Primrose Ginetta. It looked like there was some kind of fluid emitting from the back of that car. So I don't know if it's that car that's in trouble. We'll have to wait and see.
Looks like our camera crew are heading that direction. So Alpha Live absolutely on the case to give us the latest information, and I'm sure we'll find that out in a few moments' time.
Yeah, and pit lane window now open as well, because we've had 30 minutes left to go in the race. You can just about see it behind the black flag with the orange spot on it. There's a great battle actually just coming over our right shoulder, Josh, into the complex, which we're not seeing on the screen. There's another good battle on the screen though, so we've still got David Sheed there in 9th position. Johnny Weston Taylor was showing 10th at the start of the lap, but he's lost out again to Darren Ball during the course of this lap so far. But you've got these 5 really quite different cars in a way having an absolutely immense battle.
Absolutely, which shows you how well the class system works, although we have got actually some Class A and some Class B cars in here. But when you get so many cars in a race, you're going to find somebody to battle with, really, aren't you? Even if the car's totally different. Here comes Weston Taylor, tries to come up the inside, can't manage it, but he may lose a position now because driver is on the outside in the Porsche. But of course the Lotus light, therefore it's good through this part of the track, through the complex. Lewis Rhodes is getting in on this now as well, but Weston Taylor is going to try and go right around the outside of Darren Ball, who's going to bail out of this. He's had enough of this battle. He's for the pit lane. Yeah,
so the first of the major drivers then to head into the pit lane, of course, Darren Ball, and he will make his stop. 90-second stop it has to be at the moment, and I can see from my window he does follow the regulations, and he pulls in at 45 degrees and will reverse out of his slot when the time comes.
Well, I hope to be pushed out rather than...
Well, yes, pushed out, I should say, but backwards to join the race.
Here's the leader then in traffic. Andy Schultz is 10 seconds ahead of anybody else. He's very rapid, as you'd perhaps expect from Andy Schultz in this E46 M3 that he shares with Matthew Hampson. He makes his way down into the complex then for the 10th lap of this race, and he's passed them all already, including the MGF. Good to see that out. With us for the first time, I think that's Ian Deeves, who's out there in that car, to another new model to add to what must be a massive list we've had over the last decade or so since Roadsports has returned. Yeah,
absolutely. Be interesting to get a full comprehensive list of all of the different kinds of cars that we've had. There's the 707 car. That's Jonathan Barrett's BMW into the pit lane. I'm not sure if that's a scheduled stop or not. And now comes the Punto. The Punto at Bath is into the pit lane as well, 131. That's the Teo Bunyan car, so that's in for its pit stop.
We've got
as well
slippery surface flags out at Sunny, and that's because there's a cone in the track, so not so much a slippery surface, but a bit of a obstacle to deal with, and it seems that some drivers have dealt with it by just clattering over the top of it.
Yeah, it didn't seem to do them too much harm, did it?
There's the Punto that's parked up next to Darren Ball, so great to see that car out. Another car to add to that list that I guess isn't actually on any sort of paper at the moment, but in our minds, thinking back over the years of Roadsports, another new car. But Darren Ball is about to enter the circuit once more. So here, drop down the timing screens to start with, but of course as other drivers pit, which they will need to hit their return. Here's about a second, because Marston's been caught here by Simon Morga in that Honda Civic. Yeah, and they're lapping as well the Douglas Inglis Mazda MX-5 as well, as the 58 Ginetta comes into the pit lane as well. Luke Plummer, I can tell you. You mentioned Douglas Inglis there in the MX-5. He is the Class D leader, so he's having a good race. This, the battle of a second continues. You see the pit board, open board is still being shown to the drivers, so they know they can pit. There's the leader then that blasts across the line, Andy Schultz. He's 12 seconds clear of the second place battle, which is almost side by side through the hairpin. Not watching that, just watching the Punto coming back out of the pits. Here now we see the second place battle. Andy Marston keeping ahead for now of Simon Morga. Marston I think he's been a winner of these races in the past, but it's been a few years out. He's got a new car now, getting used to that here at Croft, battling away for second from the newcomer who's out in that Civic that's going really well. One of the 2.4 litre cars that's out in Class A there. Nose to tail as they turn their way through Hawthorne.
Ian Deebs in the MGF and Chris Fantana in the Mazda, both into the pits, as is Lewis Rose, number 81, and he was from 8th position, and also the 110 car, which is the Maudsley and Mead Golf as well. So a couple of the more front-running cars in now.
Andy Schulz has pulled out 15 seconds now to the gap battle for second place. So he's not only good out of traffic, he's good in traffic too. Perhaps not a particular surprise from his background in racing and endurance racing in particular. But here's Marston, then in P2 ahead of Morgan. Then into 4th place now has come Colin Gillespie in the BMW M4. Into 5th comes the new Class B leader, Liam Bidgeway, has got himself ahead of Mark Grice's Volkswagen Golf. So Bidgeway's got a Lotus that actually lasted a few laps today, which is good, and a different car for him to be out in. He's leading Class B, so that's good to see. But this is out of a second that continues on its way through the complex, coming towards half distance in this race.
Yeah, so we've got about another 9 minutes in which to make their pit stops. Wonder if either of these two will pit this time. It's the Civic's coming in, isn't it? The Civic is coming in, so that will be to hand over to Matthew Faulkner for the second part of the race.
Out of my commentary box window, you see that Colin Gillespie's got a problem in the M4, just going into the hairpin. He lost a number of positions there, and I'm sure we'll be bound for the pit lane. Has he got a puncture, I wonder? He was very much struggling through the hairpin. You can see that on our screen now. Then Gillespie for the pits. Is that front left tyre okay, is my question mark?
Looks a little bit deflated, but hard to tell. It doesn't look quite right, but we'll see whether that's the problem or not. So there's the second place car on its own, and there you can see the Gillespie car. Well, the front tyre is in the shadow. They're getting it up. That's where the attention is, certainly, Josh.
Yes, it was very hard to see, as you say, in the shadow. It sort of pulled it out of our view, but perhaps Andy McEwen will be closer to the ground to give us a report.
I can see Esther Quakemer has been into the pit lane now. She's just come into the pit lane to hand over to Pip Hammond in that number 71 Nova. And also number 5 is in, which is the McHugh's Porsche 944, and that'll be to change over as well. What's that tyre looking like?
Off the rim more than actually punctured. Hard to tell, really.
I wonder if there's some contact there or something that may have caused that to happen. The leader's in though. The leader, number 69, is now down the pit lane. Andy Schulz in to make his stop, almost exactly at half distance as well, and that will be to hand over to his teammate Matthew Hampson.
Yes, we'll see what kind of pace Matthew Hampson can put in. His gap was 17 seconds to Andy Marston, so that's one to watch. Both him and Marston have this 10-second penalty, don't they? Where the Civic did not. Now Matthew Faulkner at the wheel. So Faulkner should get second when this all settles out, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
Between the two M3s.
Quick spritz of the window there, just to make sure that the leader's visibility is clean. Matthew Hampson is sitting there waiting. He'll have to do so for 100 seconds altogether with this 10-second extra pit stop penalty to serve.
Looks like in qualifying, Hampson was about 5 seconds slower than Schulz, so he'll be hoping to get a bit closer, I suspect, in race trim.
There's Neil Primrose in the Ginetta. I don't know if we ever got to the bottom of who the black and orange mechanical warning flag was for.
Yeah, it was Primrose. We saw that on the screen.
Okay, right, okay, we did.
But yeah, he must have pitted, mustn't he? But he's come back out down in 29th position behind Darren Ball, who he was ahead of earlier. So I think he did lose a bit of time, presumably as the team worked out what the issue was. We're going to see him back out there. He's out in Club Enduro tomorrow too in the little Ginetta G20.
Nick Goff's into the pits for those of you that are following his progress. He was up to 12th as a result of other drivers pitting ahead of him. There's another 6 minutes or so of the pit stop window available. That cone's still there at Sunny. It's not been completely removed from the circuit, but I guess it's no longer now on the racing line as such.
We're looking at Phil Dryborough, who's 3rd in Class B. Liam Bidgeway, now he's got to the front of that. He's pulled out 4 seconds to Mark Grice. So Lotus Elite ahead of Volkswagen Golf and Porsche Boxster in Class B. Sammy Bowler up to 4th, who I caught up with yesterday. Class C, it's Sam McKee that heads the way there. I think he hasn't pitted yet, from Rory Baptiste and Jonathan Packer. So Packer's dropped a place since we last looked at that. And the Class D cars, I think, are heading their way through their pit stops. You mentioned Quaintmare in for Hammond, former Classic Stock Catch champion, of course, out in his Vauxhall Nova this weekend. Lots of cars heading through the chicane, including Christopher Freeman. He's pitted, I think. He has. And he's 16 seconds behind. This is interesting. So he's 16 seconds behind Hampson. He's got ahead of the Mulga Faulkner Civic that seems to have lost time in the stop. So a slow stop, it would seem, to Matthew Faulkner. So that's not going to help their cause. So Christopher Freeman's Class B car has got between them. But downstairs in the pit lane, we can hear from Andy McEwen.
Yeah, I've got Andy Schultz with me now, actually. He's just jumped out of the race-leading BMW. Andy's here with me now. Andy, good effort there in that first stint. Well done.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed that. It was great fun to be back on track. The car's working lovely now, so we're really getting there with it, getting the reliability, getting the pace out of it. And Matthew's having a brilliant time, so happy days. And the sun's come out. You know, it's mega, isn't it?
I know it's been a while since we've been able to say that at a racetrack, hasn't it? Tough out there, though, in this heat on the tyres. It's a longer race, and of course, any damage you do to the tyres, Matthew's got to deal with in the second half of the race.
That's right, yeah. It's quite tricky because you want to pull a gap, try and get a good few laps in fast pace, and then try and maintain that gap and build it for Matthew. But if you do keep pushing too hard, keep sliding it around, they'll just cook the tyres. So it's a balancing act, really, just getting the pace right so that Matthew's got a good car to lean on.
What words of advice have you given him now then for his stint?
I've got him working on two separate areas, just carrying a little bit more entry speed in and then just holding off a little bit before he gets into full power, and that should give him some good lap time, I think.
Well, we'll watch to see how he gets on. Well done, mate.
Great, thanks very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks to Andy McEwen down there in the pits with Andy Schultz. And there's another Andy Marston there, flashing his lights presumably at back markers to get them out of the way. 18 minutes left to go, so just another 3 minutes left of the pit lane window. Sam McKee, I can see, is now coming in to make his driver change as well. We also had a spin, didn't we, down at the hairpin while we were hearing from Andy Schultz?
Yeah, that was Jonathan Barrett, who was put into a spin by Christopher Freeman's Honda Civic, who's second of the pit stoppers and rapidly catching Matthew Hampson, a gap of 11 seconds between them. But they're both being caught by Matthew Faulkner, who's the third of the stoppers. But when Andy Marston comes in, we'll get a bit more of a better read on that. Andy Bailey's making another stop. On the screens, we can see now Andy Hiley at the wheel of the Lotus Elise that was started by Johnny Weston Taylor. They were battling with Neil Primrose, but they were very close across the line. I wonder if the Genettas got ahead of Andy Hiley, but I guess this could be Andy Hiley's first race in a GT-type car rather than an open-top sports or kit car.
Potentially. We've seen him out as recently as last weekend, haven't we, in the Sports Specials Championship in the Kronos.
Pip Hammond's pushing on, no surprise there. He was out over the curbs, out of the chicane. How is he doing then? He's taken over from Esther Quaintmere.
32nd, I think, at the moment.
He's third in Class D. He's got 20 seconds to make up on Douglas Inglis, but on best lap times he's a couple of seconds quicker. So Pip Hammond on the chase.
Okay, we'll see if Pip Hammond can get something in the way of a class result out of the that Nova.
Christopher Freeman's back in the pits after that contact. He was second of the pit stoppers, but he's running no more on the circuit. He's back into the pits in the Honda Civic.
And Sammy Bowler into the pit lane as well. So there's the 316 car, which is Ivor Mares.
I see he's taken the roof off the car this weekend. Perhaps a bit too warm this weekend to have the roof, so he's going for cooling rather than for aerodynamics.
Yeah, he's just looked at the weather forecast, I think, and he's going to get past Pip Hammond's Nova there.
And that's for second in Class D. The other two, the Nova going round the outside, so Pip Hammond gains a place there, passing Chris Fantana's MX-5, which he was 6 seconds behind at the beginning of the lap.
Yeah, Ivor Mares in a different class and a lap ahead, I think, of the other two. So that's not for class position. Andy Marston now, the race leader, is into the pits. So Marston is in number 37.
So we should look now for Matthew Hampson, who's the best of the pit stoppers by 14 seconds over Matthew Faulkner, although Faulkner is lapping 3 seconds faster at the moment. So in the stops, can Marston jump into the lead? I think that's Brett Evans at the front of the car, who raced with Andy Marston, if you remember, a few years ago, and is out in the Type R Trophy this weekend.
One driver that started this race late, by the way, is Matthew Weymouth, who I think joined in about halfway through in his BMW. He was supposed to start, I think, 12th on the grid, but I suspect if I look, he's actually, yeah, he's. Well, the only person who's done less laps is the Luke Handley Golf, which retired very early on.
We're watching Pip Hammond now in the PDC race in Nova. He's now 15 seconds behind Douglas English for Class D lead. He's 4 seconds faster than the MX-5 in front of him, so he should, on that rate, catch the Class D leader, which I'm sure Pip's very keen to do.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the pit lane window is about to close because we are ticking down towards 15 minutes. So if there's anyone that's not yet made their stop, they're going to have a penalty applied. I'm sure there will be other penalties for people who might have made short stops and that kind of thing as well.
Well, James Alford's just gone across the line to take the lead. I don't think he came into the pit, which is slightly concerning for him, but just watching out my window to look for the Hampson car. Here it comes into the complex. Not sure if you can see the Marston car in the pit lane here. And to see
it's
when
still there, yeah.
Okay, so
it's just being pushed back it now.
And Hampson turns his way out of the hairpin, so he should take the lead still, but Andy Marston's got the chance to chase, and he's not going to be too far away.
No, there's not going to be too much in it.
Just seen on the screen, James Alford did come into the pit, so he did just, with 5 seconds to go in the window, get into the pit lane.
Timing is everything. So it's Schultz and Hampson then that are effectively back into the lead. Hampson is now at the wheel of that car, but there'll be 5 seconds, I guess, between the two of them, between Hampson and Marston now. And Marston, of course, driving solo. And
Matthew Faulkner not far behind. He's taken over the Honda Civic that was started by his co-driver Simon Morga. Then in 5th or 4th position will be the Class B leader, which is Liam Bidgeway. So he's having a good run in this different car to him. He tested the Exige yesterday, that blew an engine. He's out in a Lease Cup car this weekend, which is slightly slower, therefore it's a Class B car, but he's having a much better time in it, leading his class.
13.5 minutes left to go then. James Alford showing on the screen in the lead, but of course he's now made his pit stop, so he will tumble down the order, and that will leave Marston out front from Matthew Hampson in 2nd, Matthew Faulkner 3rd, Leon Bidgeway 4th, Colin Gillespie in 5th. There you can see the 117 car. That's Martin Gadsby in his BMW Compact. Nice livery on that one, retro livery on that. And there he is again, because he's just between the leader and Pip Hammond, who's trying to do great things in Class D, but also you could see in that shot the Andy Marston BMW as well, the white car that's chasing after the race here. So we'll now get our first real idea on the gap between those two cars.
It's not large, put it that way. Remember, it was 17 seconds, I think, before the pit stops. Hampson goes across the line a better lap than he's done all race, I think, in the 35s, but he's only leading by 3.3 seconds, and I suspect Andy Marston will be able to catch that. What can Matthew Faulkner do? Well, he's in the 35s. He's only a further 6 seconds behind Marston. You mentioned Pip Hammond in that group. He's now catching Douglas English some more, and if I click the right buttons, I can tell you the gap between him and the MX-5. It's only 5.5 seconds now. He might catch him on this lap, such a rate of chase from the former Classic Stock Cats champ.
There in the background with the lights flashing is Andy Marston chasing after Matthew Hampson in the orange BMW M3, so the two M3s out front here, and still the Honda Civic in 3rd of Matthew Faulkner.
In 4th and 5th, Liam Bidgeway and Colin Gillespie are quicker than the 3 in front. Obviously we haven't had a true lap back from Marston yet, but I wonder if they can buy themselves into a decent result here.
Yeah, they've got 10 seconds or so to make up, haven't they, onto the sort of leaders.
And the leaders are together now as they come into the complex. That 3 seconds has gone immediately, and Marston dives up the inside into the right-handed element of the complex, and he goes through then into the lead of the motor race. It's not a big surprise, really, is it? So Andy Marston, on his return to the series, looks set, really, now you'd have to say, for a win. And I think a new car for him this time out.
Yeah, so obviously Matthew Hampson not really doing anything about it. We've got the two Class D leads about to come over the line together. You're about to see them. I think that's the Mazda MX-5 and the Vauxhall Nova. Just missed out on that, I think. But so they're heading into Clervaux now. Oh, is that a BMW off?
Graham Kelly,
it's Graham Kelly's BMW off into the gravel there. He's come out the other side. And we'll get the car turned around and going again. But there is the Class D lead battle just going through in the background. So Pip Hammond, and another BMW off the road as well.
Rory
Pip
Baptiste.
Hammond now with Douglas Inglis.
Yeah, here they come. So how long is it going to take for Pip to get through? Got two very different cars from a very similar era. The Mazda MX-5 and the Vauxhall Nova. The Nova is actually quicker in a straight line, and Pip Hammond pulls to the left-hand side of the racetrack, going down towards Tower Bend. And I suspect he'll be late on the brakes, but Douglas Inglis isn't going to let him have this easily. The two of them go side by side then through Tower. The rear-wheel drive MX-5 and the front-wheel drive Vauxhall Nova. Two drivers of different experience, I think it's fair to say, but Pip Hammond into the Jim Clark S is more committed. Unsurprisingly, takes the lead then of Class D. He was catching at a quick rate, and now he leads, I think, in the first race he's contested this year.
Yeah, I think it is his first time out, isn't it? Oh, and that's who's that part?
That's
the
Gillespie.
Colin Gillespie car, isn't it?
Who, remember, said was going well inside the top 5, but he's no longer running, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Class C we haven't mentioned lately. Rory Baptiste, who we saw off the road, had just passed Darryl Bennett in Sam McKee's BMW E36, so we're going to have to see how that pans out, because there was only a second between them, and as across the line Darryl Bennett retakes the lead of Class C. He's 3 seconds ahead of Rory Baptiste, and Jonathan Packer is third, not far behind, so the top 3 in Class C are not far apart, but for Class D it's still on the battle.
It is just about. It's going to be Matthew Weymouth that's going to come barrelling past both of them down the start and finish straight, and the BMW that was late to the start of this race, possibly some problems there that just needed to be tweaked, so really Matthew just getting some track time in more than anything else after that late start to the race. He'd normally be someone up towards the sharp end of the field, that's for certain.
Class B, Liam Bidgeway leads by 13 seconds over William Beach. Phil Driver has just got third away from Lewis Rose, though, so the Porsche ahead of the Honda.
There's Pip Hammond in the Nova, and you can see he's not built a very big lead. I thought he might have got away a bit more than that from the MX-5 during the course of the last lap or so, but no, it's not to be so far.
It looks like now Douglas Inglis has realised he's in a race for the win of the class. He's sped up somewhat, doesn't it? As the Gillespie cars being seen to. I'm watching out for the Class C battle to see if we can pick that up. And I think it's changed again, because we've lost the Darryl Bennett and Sam McKee BMW, I reckon, because Rory Baptiste is about to come into your shop to cross the line. Not far, no, Darryl Bennett's there, but he's lost the lead of the class, hasn't he? And then yeah. Jonathan Packer third. So 3 of this massive group across the line, the top 3 in Class C, now headed once more by Rory Baptiste. Second is Darryl Bennett, and third is Jonathan Packer, heading down towards Clairvaux, with cars lapping them and them lapping cars. There's the white BMW, that's the class leader.
Yeah, so that's Rory Baptiste, number 98. Had a moment a couple of laps ago, didn't he? But he's recovered well from that. There is the race leader, though, Andy Martin, with just about 7.5 minutes to go. And there is the Punto Bath, which is resplendent. It looks absolutely magnificent, but it's about to be lapped by the Golf and others.
Good to encourage that out into the Alfa Romeo Championship, wouldn't it? That runs the 750 Motor Club that allows in that type of car.
Absolutely. So
there's Hampson in the traffic in second, and there's third, catching him, Matthew Faulkner. So there's many positions yet to be contested in the last 7.5 minutes of this race.
Yeah, it could have some changes yet. And there you can see that Packer Civic in the middle of this.
I think there's yellows here, isn't there?
Yeah, there will be, while the Colin Gillespie car is dealt with, although it looks like it's possibly moved out of position now. It looks like there's green flags now as people try to change and recover positions.
So that's allowed Baptiste and Bennett get away from Jonathan Packer in the Class C battle, and really brought second and third overall together. Matthew Hampson being caught by Matthew Faulkner, so the Honda Civic may gain a place, I think, before the end of this.
I think we can probably pretty much rule Andy Marston out of this now, because he's 6.2 seconds clear of the rest of the field. There you can see one of the BMWs trying to make a move, and the Punto's for pits, I'm afraid. That's a shame, just we're building it up.
And mentioned Alfa Romeo at the same time.
Yeah, well, that's rubbed off, hasn't it? Anyway, 6 minutes left to go. There's Pip Hammond, who I think now has put some more daylight between himself and his... Yeah, there's the nearest Class D rival, Douglas Inglis. So Hammer's a bit more secure in that car that he's sharing with his other half, Esther Quaitmere, this weekend.
In the Class B lead, Liam Bidgeway is only 5 seconds behind the second place battle overall now. Hampson and Morgan, they go through your shot there. Then the Lotus in 4th position is catching them rapidly. So watch out there for the White Lotus of Liam Bidgeway. Okay, he's leading his class, but he might gain positions onto an overall podium, although if we had an incident down at Clairvaux, there's gravel settling or dust settling. I think a car went into the gravel but has made its way back out. Here's Liam Bidgeway, the Class B leader in this little Elise Cup car. He is really rapid in it. He makes his way then down into the right-hander at Sunny. He was only 5 seconds behind Matthew Faulkner's Civic on the last lap and chasing. We're seeing in the last 5 minutes whether he can catch him. He's 16 seconds in front of anybody else in Class B, which is William Beach, who's second, and third is Phil Dryborough.
Yeah, so into the final 5 minutes of this 45-minute race for the Tegiwa Roadsports Series. We'll have the 2-hour club endurance race tomorrow. Again back by Tegiwa, but for today it's the and very Ivan Mayer's taking a very odd line through the hairpin that time, but he's rejoined the circuit. Black and white driving stance flag being shown to somebody. We can't see the number on the board that's being shown. That's more than likely for a track limits infringement though, rather than anything else.
There's Sammy Bowler, she's in 12th overall. I don't think she's battling with the Porsche in front of her. She's 5 seconds behind Andy Hiley's Lotus and 11 seconds ahead of James Alford, and she makes her way up the inside in the Mini Cooper S, ahead of the Porsche 968 on the road. I think we have seen some of them out, and it's good to see the front engine Porsches racing with the 750 Motor Club here at Croft. Of course, we have lots more Porsches out later in the year in the All Porsche Trophy that the 750 Motor Club are running nowadays.
Yeah, we have that as well. That's had a couple of rounds so far this season. One at Donington and one at Brands Hatch. So less than 4 minutes to go in this race, and you've got one of the Golfs just coming over the line now, and the Ian Deeves MGF. Nice to see that out as well. And one of the next cars through is going to be that of the race leader, Andy Marston, who will probably have... I was just wondering whether this car sounded quite as healthy as it should at that time. He's probably going to have, what we got, 3 laps to go probably.
Off the road into the field goes Andy Bailey. He's not had a good race. He's had about 4 pit stops, and now he's off the road at Tower. He was all locked up when he got there. He, I think, said there was some brake issues in qualifying.
Yeah.
That would suggest there are still brake issues with his Honda Civic. Across the line, though, here's second and third. Hampson and Faulkner both being caught in the background. You might see a White Lotus. That's Liam Bidgeway. He's only 3 seconds behind now. And
up on the inside goes the Civic, and it goes through and relatively uncontested takes the position. So second overall, second in Class A goes that Matthew Faulkner Honda Civic now at the expense of the Matthew Hampson BMW, and I guess that was kind of expected. Yellow flags at Tower Corner, that's for the Andy Bailey car.
Behind in Class B, of course Liam Bidgeway still leads, but Phil Dryborough has got himself ahead of Mark Grice.
Lewis Rose from 7th place is into the pit lane as well, car number 81. So a very late retirement for Lewis. That's heartbreaking.
And there's another one, which is the Punto back in, so it went back out, but not for very long, I'm afraid. In Class C, just to give you an update there, Rory Baptiste leads Darryl Bennett by 3 seconds, and there's a further 3 seconds back from Jonathan Packer. And Ivor Mayer's going well. He's 4th in class, just a couple of seconds further back. So the top 4, there's Mayer's on the screen, in Class C, and not that far apart from one another. Ivor Mayer's, you can't quite, in that shot, see the Civic that he's chasing.
So 316 Ivor Mayers and 153 in shot there as well. That's the Gundry and Sykes 330 into the last minute and a half of this race. What's gone on there?
Just on your shot there, you could see Liam Bidgeway, I think, lean in on the John Maudsley and Stuart Mead Golf that he was trying to lap.
Came from quite a long way behind, I thought.
Yes, I think hopefully got away with that. He was trying to chase this overall podium positions. I don't think he's quite going to manage it now. No. With possibly 2 laps to go. It's going to be pretty tight, isn't it, when Andy Marston gets back around. And Liam Bidgeway still trying to get himself ahead of this Golf that's not making it terribly easy for him, but he's done it in the end. I guess who's in the Golf now? It's Stuart Mead probably isn't particularly impressed with the Lotus clattering into the side of him a few moments ago.
No. So there is Matthew Weymouth charging down alongside the Darrell Bennett, as it now is, 3 Series, Sam McKee car. You can see the road plates on the back of that, driven to and from all of the meetings still.
He's only dropped 4 seconds away from Rory Baptiste, so it's been a good drive here from Darrell Bennett. But here's the leader with only a few seconds left. With only a few seconds left of the race, we'll see if we get one further lap in.
Yeah, we might have a 5-second penalty for Neil Primrose possibly, but we'll see if we're going to get the checkered flag this time. It's touch and go. Last lap board is shown, so yeah, it's about 7 seconds to go as Andy Marston goes across the line, so he will go on to his 27th and final lap of the race, and he's got a healthy margin, hasn't he, because only now is the Civic, the second place Civic, Matthew Faulkner, coming out of the hairpin, chased by the Matthew Hampson BMW. But the race leader on his final lap then. Have we got anything to sort out in the classes, do you think, now?
Well, not for the classes, but for 3rd and 4th overall, Liam Bidgeway is now only 1.7 seconds behind Matthew Hampson, so that could change, but that's not in the classes. Class B for 2nd, Driver to Beach was only 1.2 seconds. Has that gone out as they cross the line this time to complete their 26th lap? It has a bit, so that looks pretty settled. Class C, Darrell Bennett's only a couple of seconds ahead of Jonathan Packer, and in Class D, Pip Hammond's getting away there now. So I think the main potential change could be for 3rd overall. So we're seeing that as they come to the end of the lap.
I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think it looks like Bidgeway is a bit too far behind. I think he got held a little bit by Nick Goff, if anything, on the way out of Hawthorne that time. But there is the race leader then, number 37, Andy Marston, who has really probably been in control of this race all the way throughout, not necessarily leading it all the way throughout, but knowing that the car that was ahead possibly had a slightly slower driver in for the second part of the race. It's always been in reasonably good order for Andy Marston. Then he turns his way out of the hairpin for the 27th and final time. Checkered flag is made ready. You can see lights flashing now, not because back markers need to get out of the way, but in celebration, because Andy Marston wins the 2nd race of the season for the Tegiwa Roadsports series, and it's quite a long advantage that he has.
Well, I'm hoping I've got all 4 of our class winners. I've certainly got our overall race winner, Andy Marston. Andy, you got out of the car and the first thing you did was poured an ice-cold bottle of water over your head. Bit warm in there?
Just a little bit, a tad warm in the car, yeah.
I mean, you did brilliantly to keep your concentration, actually, all things considered.
Yeah, so the start, I mean, the Orange BM, he was quick out the block. I was just trying to manage the front left. It just seemed to be pushing on a little bit, but settled in, tried to manage it towards the end, and yeah, all good.
It must be a bit of a beast, this thing, especially through that tight final sector, especially then if the tyres are overheating.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've only just built the car, so we've done very limited testing. We're getting there, long way to go yet, but fingers crossed.
Well, congratulations on the overall and Class A victory for Andy Marston. Now, Leon Bidgeway is just a little way down here in the little Lotus Elise, and he came home in a really strong 4th place overall and won in Class B. And we'll just let him get his helmet off, and then we'll have a word with our Class B winner, Leon, who's, I think, catching his breath as much as anything else. The little Lotus, though, was a real giant killer in that race and was performing exceptionally well. Particularly in the first part of the race, actually, moving forward through the order nicely. Leon, you pulled off some good moves there in the early stages. This car is really good through the tight corners.
Yeah, it is. It's a super stub. It's not my car. My car's having a head gasket change for tomorrow, so I had a last-minute go in this, and it's, well, pretty good Class B car, isn't it? And it lasted to the end, so yes.
How much seat time did you have in this particular car before the race then?
I did about 20 minutes in a test yesterday, and then quali this morning, and that's it really. So.
And how hard is it to sort of get used to this car, because it's a bit less powerful, I'd imagine, but maybe a bit lighter?
It's more, yeah, it's less powerful. It's a lot more lively. It's, mine's more planted. This is, I'm sweating. It's, it's really hard over 45 minutes to drive that, so flat out. So yeah, I'm just glad I'm done.
And a Class B win and almost an outright podium.
Yes, I didn't know where I was. I was having a bit of a race with the Golf at the end there. I don't know. I didn't know if I was racing him or what, but I think I had a bit of contact. Yeah, Third, fantastic, and first in class, great.
Huge congratulations then to Leon Bidgeway, our Class B winner. Now, Rory Baptiste was first in Class C. Rory, well done. Strong effort there. And when you're running in Class C, it must be a little bit of a challenge because there clearly are cars out there that are slower than you, but then you've also got to try and keep an eye out for the leaders.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting. It's yeah, just keeping an eye on your mirrors and looking in front and trying to work out if someone that's coming up behind you is in your class or the person who's come out in front of you in the pits. It's all part of endurance racing, which makes it fun.
A lot of drivers I've spoken to that had issues in that race, it was either brake or tyre related. Any such problems for you?
No, just driver errors. I overcooked it into a corner and just went a bit wide onto the grass a bit, and I was taking one of the curbs and it was giving me pad knockoff. So other than that, it was all good.
Well, congratulations anyway on the Class C victory. Are you back out for any other Roadsports races this year?
Yeah, we'll be out. We're back out at Brands again, so doing Club Enduro. So yeah, as much as we can.
Excellent. Well, best of luck in them, and congratulations on the class win. And back this way again now to our Class D winners. And a welcome return to competition for Esther and Pip. Pip, I think you were in the car first, weren't you? So we'll start over this side. Oh, Esther was. There we go. There we go. A busy start to the race, I'd imagine.
I got a great start. Sorry.
No, don't be. We want the enthusiasm.
Yeah, it was a good start. I was really scared because I mean the Nova's like the Nova. It's a bit intimidating, but I got my elbows out and I was like, yeah.
Because you've got to pick your moments in this car, I guess, because it's not the most powerful car out there, but it corners well.
Yeah, it's quite good because Croft there's not many straights in the corners, and Pip's been working on me to keep my foot in on the straights so that I actually go fast. But yeah, no, it was a great car, and like getting my elbows out and like trying to it was a great race.
Do you know what? It's so nice to see people who genuinely have enjoyed themselves out there. Pip, I know you always enjoy yourself out there. It must be good to get an excuse to get back behind the wheel of this thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's just so nice to come and drive it here. We tend not to get to come here for classic stock cars for some reason, but most of the drivers are southern based, so it's we're a little bit worried about fuel. It's the first time we've done one of these races dry all the way through, so maybe the safety car helped us a bit. I had to back off a bit at the end because we're only on a little tank, but yeah, it went really well. And you know, we've won loads of time as a team before in different ways, but this is the first time both at the wheel, so really pleased for that. And it's really nice to see you.
Still going.
Really nice to see you in the real world for a change.
Yeah, they do let me out occasionally. Only on nice weather, though. I stipulate that. Right, we're going to have to end it there because I believe the next race is gridding up already.